losers, inspire.
Welcome back to another Wisdom Wednesday discussion. I am your guide, Sans Inspire, generating, uplifting, inspiring, developing, and empowering you to live inspired every day forever, because that's life. Our monthly theme has been empowerment through new beginnings. And in this fourth week, we talk about aligning our actions with our vision so that we can begin to transition intention into live momentum. The life principle that we have for this discussion is momentum is not a force you find, but a current you generate. You are the creator. And this creating the momentum, this is going to ensure that our daily actions begin to flow in the same direction as our deepest vision. So we want our daily actions, the things that we do day to day, to be in alignment with the vision that we see for our life, or what we call our dream. In order to get there, we got to start aligning on a day to day basis. I know a lot of times we look because we can see it's our vision. We see these visions and we have these dreams, and we say, when I get there, then this will happen. We expect that it's almost like a destination. We wait to arrive. But in reality, it's like you wait till you get to the destination. That's the end. That's not the beginning. What is going to get you to that destination is what we're talking about. Your daily actions creates the momentum which carries you towards that vision or that dream. So aligning ourselves is the conscious part. That's the art. We get to do this consciously. We get to basically make our feet walk the path that our eyes can see. And when I think about that, that's powerful in itself, because this is us being in full control and understanding of our vessel. So when my feet walk the path that my eyes see, then this is how I know that I'm aligned and I'm heading in the right direction. So let us affirm that my actions reflect the vision I hold for my life. And as we affirm that, because we start, okay, this is the beginning of our discussion. And at the end of this, that affirmation is going to be reaffirmed. So in the present moment, as we're flowing through this, we want to check that alignment. Do my actions reflect? Because what we're affirming is that my actions reflect the vision I hold for my life. This is us positively saying that this is what we're doing. And we're just continuing to check. Because if it's not, then we just align those steps. Okay. So do our daily actions reflect the vision that we hold for our life? If I believe that I'm going to be someone successful, do my daily actions lead towards that? Or is it just a fantasy that I have that I'll be like, I'm going to be highly successful at this thing, but my daily actions don't attribute to that? I'm not putting in the necessary work that I need to. I don't have the proper mindset. I'm not doing those things which would lead to that. It's I-90 takes you west, you on Interstate 40 going east. It's the wrong thing to be doing. So we want just a line so we're going in the right direction, because our intent is that we examine not only ourselves, but the relationship that we have between our vision now and our daily behavior, because we are now aligning our actions with our vision. So we're examining this relationship. Is there any correlation or connection between my daily behavior and my vision? If not, then I need to establish that. This isn't where it's like, no, and so you start beating up on yourself. You're simply examining, is there alignment? No, maybe just a little bit, not as much as I would like. And then I take the steps to build that out, because we want to strengthen that commitment. Because as we strengthen that commitment, that momentum, it grows and it creates more pressure. And so that pressure is not on us, the pressure to do a thing. We become that pressure to where now that vision has no choice but to manifest. All right. We're begin to close that gap between where we aim to go, I want to be over there, and where our daily energy is spent. So if I say I want to be over there, then I got to stop doing the things that take me over there. And this is all we're doing: aligning, examining. We're not judging, we're not beating ourselves up. We're figuring it out, and then we're going to make the adjustments. And the outcome that we're looking for is that we have this clear eye, this clarity in our self awareness. We understand who we are, we know what we need to do, and we begin to do those things. This is the roadmap for our life. It's the roadmap for course correction. You say, I want to go over there. Nope, I ended up over here. We got to course correct so we get back in line with that. And these things happen over time. And we have these visions, and then things happen in our life. But that doesn't mean that those things are even meant to derail. We just got off the track. I had a kid at 20. I just got off whatever track I thought I was on. But that could have been part of my vision or part of my journey. Maybe I just didn't see that part. But this is what allows us to correct course instead of giving up. All right. We want to consciously redirect the small daily choices before they become big and insurmountable and feel like there's nothing we can do. And as we do this, the momentum that we create is undeniable. And that larger vision begins to move closer and closer and closer until it is what we are living in our reality. And then that's truth. But it didn't happen. It happened because the daily actions that you took, not just because we said we wanted to do something or said we were going to do it, and we sat around. You put those daily actions to ensure that you made it there. This is why we hear why certain people do certain things, like wake up at 5 a.m. or I go on a run or I do these. It's because that aligns with my vision. Those things help me get there. What doesn't help me get there is me listening to somebody, let's say an entrepreneur, somebody who's wealthy, and they're saying about all the things that they're doing. And then I'm like, well, I don't do those things. So I start doing them simply because they said they want to do them. And I want to be where I think they are, which is just having a lot of money. That's not the vision. Vision is deeper than that. It's stronger than that. And so those things that they say, some of that may be useful for you. You don't take it at face value. Some of these things need to be adjusted to fit you. We putting on other people's garments and they're not even our clothes, and we wonder why it don't fit, why this is too tight, why that's too baggy, why you got to adjust these things. But they're all there to align with your vision. We talked last week about discipline and how that relates to this. These are all things that lead us there. And so we open up by talking about how momentum is built, not found. Right? When we are thinking that it's found, we create a gap between our vision and the action. And so when we understand that it is built, we begin to close that gap with action. So the guiding question that I have for you is, where is there a gap between the person your vision requires you to be and the person your daily habits and choices are currently creating? So where's there a gap between the vision that you have of who you want to be and these daily actions and choices that you are choosing on a daily basis? So I think I'm going to be over there. I want to be a professional athlete, professional basketball player. But my daily habits and choices don't create that because I'm not practicing. I'm not developing myself. I'm not studying. I'm just like, this is what's wrong. This is like, the action has to lead to that. So we want to identify where our vision and our actions may not be aligning. And so the month of January, first month, 2026, we began with awakening our intention. That was the first thing we did, as we are now aligning this momentum. So we began with awakening our intention. We then started to clean the space through release and to build that inner authority. And now we put it all into motion. This is like the little engine that could. We are chugging along. We must be reminded that it is at this moment where we are right now that many journeys stall. But they don't stall because they lack the vision. They stall because there's misalignment between where our unconscious actions are, the things that we just are naturally doing. We just naturally walking and breathing. Those are unconscious actions. There's misalignment between our unconscious actions and our destination. The things that we do contradict where we are going. So they are going to delay us getting there. When we're able to spot and correct, this is when true momentum is built. Because you're saying, wait, let me stop this. That's why it's taking so long. I got to stop this. Now the momentum is going. And it's like a snowball effect. The thing about it, though, is you can't always get what you want. But if you try sometimes, you might find. Do what you can. We want momentum, but avoid commitment that is needed to produce it. So you can't always get what you want. We want it, but because we avoid the commitment, we don't get that. And so what we want to do is take that action and align it to our commitment. So I want this thing. Now I have to begin to commit. Something simple as going to the gym, starting a new diet. A lot of times the commitment, we want to make it so big that it makes it hard to commit. And this momentum is not just going to appear magically. Oh, look at this. I'm now just going. No, it happens when we are aligned and we begin to repeat those actions. So one day, then 2 days, then 2 weeks, then 3 weeks, but they start small. I think the misstep that we take is try to do it all at once. We want to eliminate everything at the same time. I got to go on this diet. So we just all of a sudden, we just going to eat salads today. We ain't never really did this. We're just going to eat salads and it's a struggle. And we end up failing because we set ourselves up that way. These are gradual things. You weren't born and said, I wanted to walk and stood up and tried to do it. No. Even when you wanted to, you took a step and you failed. And even when you actually took the first 2 steps, they was very slow and almost clumsy. And you had to repeat them over and over and over and over again before you can even run. But if you've seen that child who try to run before they even took a step, or where we're trying to become something before we put in the work, this is where we stabilize because we're not fading. This is where we stabilize because alignment is the difference between us burning out and us sustaining this life, us sustaining our actions and our intentions. So the scriptural anchor that we're going to start with to anchor this in comes from Proverbs chapter 21, verse 5. The thoughts of the diligent tend only to plenteousness, but of everyone that is hasty, only to want. The thoughts of the diligent tend only to plenteousness, but of everyone that is hasty, only want. Your due diligence. Like you do your due diligence, you do what you needed to do. Yet when we put that diligence and we're grounded in our alignment, we start to move forward at a rapid pace. The thoughts or plans, we need to be careful. We need to be thoughtful. We need to put steady effort. This is what results in plenteousness or prosperity. So we have these thoughts and these plans and we want to do them right now. Hurry up. That's what causes them to fail more than anything because you're trying to rush it instead of being careful, recognizing that these things take time. We want it all in our 20s. If it don't happen in our 20s and we 30, now we too old and we gave up, it's over for me. Don't get to 40, now you're really gonna, oh no, life is done. And so we're in such a rush. As a kid, as a child, we're such in a hurry to become an adult that we missed out on most of our childhood. Then when we become an adult at 18, We only got 10 years because about 28, now we're dreading 30. And what didn't happen, and it creates another rush. I got to hurry up and do this because I'm about to be 30 and I'm about to be 40 and I'm about to be this and I'm about to be that. If we just calm down, realize that these things take time, and started intentionally planting these seeds, we'd be growing what we wanted to grow, what we needed to grow. Instead, we are rushing through these things so fast. A lot of times we're leaving behind the things we need, trying to get only what we wanted out of it. And then later on, when we have all those things we want, we realize they don't suit us. And we have to go back because there's some things that I need. Yet it can be more difficult at that time to go back. Now you're way over there. You're trying to go back to get something that you need because you were rushing through those relationships too fast. Those people didn't matter. You were just trying to get something out of them. We become very transactional. Your opportunities didn't matter. It was just, let me get that paycheck. Let me get more money. You didn't actually take the lessons out of them, the experiences. You didn't cultivate those relationships. We just rush through it. And this is time that we become intentional and we slow down, because acting too quickly, being hasty, or without careful consideration leads to want or poverty. And when I was developing this discussion, that right there slapped me in the face. Because when I looked at that scripture that tells us that the thoughts of the diligent tend only to plenteousness, but of every one that is hasty, only to want. So when I looked up hasty, want comes up. When I looked up want, poverty was there. And I was like, wait, what? So acting too hastily, when we act too hastily, we're not carefully considering things. And if we're not carefully considering things, that is what leads us into poverty. And if we are in poverty, what is that? Want. Want. When we feel like we are poor, we have wants. When I was a kid and we didn't have, I wanted everything because I ain't have it. And as I began to grow, I started to see what I needed. And that's when I started to understand abundance and prosperity. Because when I was in poverty, I wanted everything. As I became more abundant within myself, I realized the prosperity around me. That was me realizing that everything I needed was right here. So those wants started to go away because, again, the reason why I wanted them because I didn't have it, but it's not something that I needed. So I had these desires that really didn't fit me. Why did I want it? Because I was poor and I didn't have that. So I want that, and I want a new car and a new house and a pony and this and those toys and that, and we just continue to want. And if we work that backwards, poverty leads us to want because we don't have. And because we want it so bad, we're going to act hastily. So we're not going to carefully consider. So these things aren't necessarily saying you're wrong for wanting or this. It's saying that look at where we are at that moment and why do I want these things? Identify what you want and why, first of all. Now carefully consider what you need to do to get it. Don't act hastily. Our long-term sustainable success comes through planning. This is why we say the 5 P's. Proper planning prevents poor performance. So if we're not properly planning, then we're poorly performing. It ain't rocket science. We make this harder than it is because we'll be like, I don't believe that. It's too easy, too good to be. That's all we looking for, the easy stuff. Then when you actually find these things they break down things and make them more understandable, say, nah, because it's too simplistic. Well, if it's too simplistic, then we're making it hard. We're making it harder than it has to be. Yet the truth is that long-term success, sustainable success, comes through planning. Anybody who has sustained success for a long time, they're going to tell you about the plans that they had put in place. Anybody who has had short-term success, which a lot of us have experienced, something a flash in the pan, or short-term failure, this happens through impatience. So it's either long-term success or a short-term failure. Because now what I'm seeing is, what is a short-term success? It was a flash in a pan. And it was a flash in a pan like a lighter. It didn't have the fuel to sustain itself because it was impatient. Because we are impatient. So that short-term success is actually just short-term failure, because we are meant for long-term success. We are meant for sustaining things. And if we are not sustaining, then we need to ask ourselves, am I moving too hastily? Am I being impatient? Did I ruin this opportunity or this relationship because of my impatience? I expected this to happen and it didn't. Now I'm gone. We can not have, not because it doesn't exist, but because we moved too quickly. You moved too fast to receive it. It was right. I was about to get to you, then you gone. Where'd they go? Oh, they left. All right. Well, anybody else want this? It wasn't ready yet, and maybe we wasn't patient enough. It's the, are we there yet? Or cooking in the kitchen. Is the food done? That's an impatient person. Are we there yet? Man, we just left. First of all, hey, you better sit down. And is the food done? I'm starving. You're impatient. You want it to go faster because you're starving. And we're starving for what we deem as success in this life. So we're willing to move as fast as possible. And guess what? They know that. So they keep pushing us. This is why we're being pushed. So you move as fast as possible, because when you move that way, you're going to have things that fall through your hand. You're not going to hold on to things. You're going to not see clearly. So you're going to make mistakes. And there are plenty of people, places, and things that benefit from us not being able to see clearly, to make mistakes, to be fearful, to be moving hastily. And if we're talking about the time that we live in right now, you got instant gratification and social media. Everything is moving fast. I got to hurry up. You got to be the first person to put out the news to the point where they're making errors in their story. Matter of fact, if you pay attention, and this is a little exercise you can do, next time you go online and look at the news, you Google something. I know you like Fox News or CNN or MSNBC and you don't want to switch, but look at all of them. Look at least 5 of them, the top 5. Google something, the top 5 news sources that come up, look at them. And you'll start to see the headlines are similar. The story is damn near the same. We have seen where it didn't matter if it was MSNBC, CNN, Fox News, Reuters, they had the same exact story. I'm talking about word for word. The title was different and the author was different, but it was the same exact story, as if y'all copied each other. If we was in class, that would be plagiarizing. Somebody would have got their parents called, somebody would have got an F on their test. But what we call it now is just, it's the news cycle. It's the fast-paced world we live in where you gotta be first. Who said you gotta be first? Who said you gotta hurry up? Because we're being told that, again, going back to the scripture, but of everyone that is hasty, only one. So if we are being hurried to create and keep going and more, what you want? Because we were told, ask and you shall receive. So if you want something, why don't you ask so you can get it? Because what we're actually doing is making these excuses for why we are creating these problems, moving too hastily. So we just want everything. So we have a gluttonous society now. We overindulging in everything. It don't matter what it is. We overindulge in the food. We overindulge in entertainment. We overindulge in content. Just everything we do is more and more and more. That's not enough. So are we ready? Are we even able to admit what we are participating in? This is why we continue to have these short term, everything is on a 3 to 6 month cycle now. It changes. People ain't even in relationships for longer than 3 to 6 months. People aren't even on jobs for longer than 3 to 6 months. People aren't even committing themselves to a thing for more than 3 to 6 months. If it don't happen in 3 to 6 months, they own to something else. We're planting the seed in the ground, and if it didn't sprout, we digging it up and we plant another seed, and we digging it up, and we slow down, right? Because we're moving too fast, and we may be running past the point where we were supposed to receive. We got a microwave mindset. It has to be quick and fast and right now. When we're moving that fast, we're making poor decisions. We missing out on timing, and we're unstable. And when I think about this what is not an analogy. This is like a true story, right? But it's the slot machine analogy, right? People are playing on a slot machine at the casino. They trying to win. They whatever, get up, leave. Next person sit down. Now that person's mad and says, "That's my jackpot." No, it's not. It would have been had you been patient, but you're impatient. And so that person who is patient, they probably just sat down, taking their time, and went like that. Jackpot. Can't be moving too hastily, because haste is not speed, it's hurry. It is impulse. It is acting without clarity. You ever seen the show where they telling a story and right before they actually tell them what they need to know, they gone? But I was about to tell you that you need to, so excited to out the door. I didn't even tell you about the, oh well, you will find out later. We're moving too fast. We need to start checking for that alignment and choosing without distraction. So be still, because that distraction is interfering with our discernment. And if we want to be in alignment, we need to be with discernment. We are out of alignment because we make decisions without discerning them. So we're reacting instead of responding. I just reacted. No, respond. There's a difference. The knee-jerk reaction or the calculated response. We need calculated responses for our lives, not knee-jerk reactions. And this is what creates that cycle of inner prosperity. We're creating a cycle of inner prosperity because we're reversing what we saw as lack. We saw it as lack because we had inner poverty. We wanted so much. And when you want so much, it's like giving out all of yourself, just wanting so much. This is how we become poor. Not because we lack the resources. It's not why we're poor. We're poor because we lack the readiness. We focus on the resources. This is what creates our want. And this is what makes us move hastily, because we forgot what we was told. It's like, you got everything that you need. No, I don't. I need $1 million. You need $1 million. Man created $1 million. I know. So then that means that you can go get it. It's not far-fetched, but we don't have the patience and the planning to actually go get it. But we want it. And the key to life is when our alignment turns our visions into reality. Alignment. We are moving in alignment. This thing is for me, so that's why I am going this way. I'm not going over there just because y'all over there. Popularity. Same thing in creating content right now on social media. I see so many businesses and brands. Should I consult some of them? And when I ask them, well, why are you doing this? The response is the same. Well, because I thought I had to. Everybody else is doing it. That's the issue. We doing what everybody else is doing when we were sent here with specific instructions to do what we're supposed to be doing. This is what my grandma used to warn me about. Stop trying to go out there and be like them. Be yourself. You following behind them knuckleheads, getting yourself in trouble, and you need to be yourself. But they cool and popular. I want to keep following behind them people. She used to say this, and now these sayings, they just like, I didn't know what they meant then, but they all mean something to me now. She would say these weird, I don't know, it's just like some Southern cultural things that come from our African American history. I don't know. But she used to say, give him an inch and a nail and he'll drive straight on off into hell. And I say, where do you get this stuff? Now, what? If you give him an inch and a nail, they're just going to keep going. It's about want. It's about not being able to discern. Well, you're just going to keep going. It's like recklessness. He's going to go straight on down in hell, boy. Watch, he's just going to keep going. Wreck-It Ralph. And it's true because we don't have that alignment. We just going And then we end up off in the hell. So we want to turn our alignment. We want to use our alignment to turn our visions into reality. Our visions give us direction. Like, I want to go here. The vision is the directions how to get there. You're going to take I-30 down to 635. That's the actions. Getting up and actually doing that is what gives us life. So when we are feeling like why our life don't have meaning or lifeless, we lack action. The proper action that's going to lead us to the destination that we are headed to. And in our program, we have a program for physical wellness and nutrition. It's called 3DAT, three-dimensional athletic training. And we just use the word athlete because we look at everybody as athletes. And the athlete is a warrior, so everybody is the same. It doesn't mean you have to play sports or not. No, it's about being active again. Because we're seeing where the problems that we have, both in our bodies, come from a lack of action. We ain't moving. We ain't active. We sitting around and we're consuming. And because of that, you're being weighed down. If we simply do what our body is meant to do, which is be active, that don't mean you got to run 5 miles a day. That's when we're impulsive. We get up and run 5 miles one time and then we don't run again. And no, you just take these, you add little steps to each day. Activity is, you wasn't walking, now you walk. So I walked up the street, right? We're going to be active in life again. And that physically for our body starts to reduce the ailments. We need to be active again in our life. That will reduce the ailments in our mind. We need to be active again in life. That'll reduce the ailments in our heart. Action gives life. Acting is like, you're right. So the misalignment that we have or that we experience, it shows up as the inconsistencies in our lives. It shows up as the frustration in our lives. I'm tired of this every single time. And it shows up as that burnout, just not having enough energy to even do it anymore. Just like, man, forget it. And what happens when we're in that, when we are inconsistent and we become frustrated and we feel burnout? What happens in that moment? Because when we are aligned, that alignment feels like clarity. I know, I can see clearly now. The rain gone. Oh, it's gonna be a bright, sunshiny day because we got clarity, right? We have the energy. We energize. We wake up just like everybody else. We wake up, but then we're ready to go. Let's go. All right, we're clear. We're energized, and you start to see steady progress, alignment. You put yourself on that conveyor belt, and we begin to just move like this. This is what it looks like to everybody else. It looks like you're just going like this. But for you, you're plotting things, planning things, moving things, organizing, rearranging, aligning. But it looks like you're just doing this. And people will be like, you're so lucky. And hey, it has nothing to do with it. Right? That activity is going to make things compound over time. So it's never going to take as long as you thought it was. That's why we got to stop thinking about it and start doing it. The universal law, God, the universe, the Most High, is going to respond not to what you want, but to what you are through your consistent doing. What you are through your consistent doing. So we look at what you're doing consistently and we can determine what you are. And then we say, hey, this is what you are. You say, no, I'm not. It's not an insult. We're saying that if you keep doing that, then that's all we got to do. Stop looking at everybody else and start looking at ourselves. I know it's hard, but so what, damn it? Like, you deserve that. So stop looking for everything to be made easy and become the pressure that is applied, and life stops being so hard. You are that thing now. You can't be that thing because life is that thing. And life is that thing because we are not seeing what we are through our consistent doing. We ain't even paying attention to that. We're blaming what we consistently do on something else, which is part of that accountability. If we're not going to be accountable, that goes to somebody else, that transaction. So I'm not accountable to you. Take it. I will take that. I will take all of it. Matter of fact, I did take all of it. I took accountability for things that weren't even mine. And in the end, you know what that did? It allowed me to sort out exactly what was mine and what was not. Cool, I'll take that too. I'll take that too. And now I'm working on improving these things. And I'm saying, what's this? This ain't mine. I didn't put that here because I cleaned everything up that I messed up. And that was still there. That ain't mine. Now, whether you want to take that back or not, I know it ain't mine, so I'm not even going to touch it no more. This is how boundaries get built. You start to recognize what is mine and what is not. We talked about intelligence or wisdom being knowing when to put something down, to let it go, to leave it alone. That's wisdom. That's when we're expressing our intelligence. We like, you know what? I'm not doing that no more. We're not expressing our intelligence when we keep doing the same things over and over and over, expecting a different result. Stop that. That's crazy. Our anchor comes from Joel A. Barker. He says, vision without action. Ooh, we heard this something like this before. Vision without action is merely a dream. You went to sleep, you dream. You had a daydream and you did nothing about it. Vision without action is only a dream. So if we actually go backwards, we can say this backwards, and I love doing this whenever I want to understand something. And it's like, if it's a reciprocity, I guess. I'm trying to find a way to explain this. When I know something is a truth, for me, it can be understood forward and backwards. So when we hear a vision without action is merely a dream, if we say that backwards, then it says a dream. Ooh, dream is merely action without vision. A dream lacks action and vision. So we dream every day and you wake up and you do nothing about it. That's why I said a vision is that dream when you apply action to it. They say follow your dreams, right? Your dreams come true. Your dream came true because you acted out on it. Then the vision, and you start developing the plans, and then all of a sudden you move towards it. And then you said, this, it can't be. Everybody who just laughed and made fun, that's what they're gonna do because it's your vision and your dream. Think about it. We get offended because we think they're laughing at us. They ain't laughing at us. They're not laughing at you. They're laughing at themselves. They're laughing at the thought that you gotta follow your dream, right? Because they're gonna laugh. And then the moment they see you put action to your dream, it becomes a vision. You develop a plan and it becomes reality. They're gonna come to you and ask you how you did it. Then they're gonna want to do it. Then it becomes the thing to do. Right now, the thing to do is to ridicule ourselves, to not act out on our dreams, to diminish the vision, and then complain about the life that we are living and point fingers at other people. That's exhausting. And this is what we're seeing. Action without alignment is exhausting. These excuses are exhausting, yet they don't seem to stop. This is why we are stopping it. We're not participating in that anymore. When we talk about renewed life, this is where we are. We're saying no more of just having dreams. We are going to put the action. We are going to properly plan. So we need to understand how we operate, what we need. What does this mean for me? What is plenteousness for me? Prosperity for me? What is happiness and joy for me? I see what you're doing and you're on a boat and the yachts and all that, and you look like you're having fun, but do I really want that? I don't know that I do. When I saw it, I said, oh, I want that. But then I'm not going to move too hastily. I'm going to discern. And when I sat with it, I recognized that's not really what I want. When I actually sat with this thought that I wanted just $1,000,000, I was like, you know what? That's not actually what I want because it don't take 1,000,000 to actually get it. But when I thought about it and I saw these people with all this money and they're traveling, they look happy, I said, oh, that's what I want. It wasn't the $1,000,000, it was the happiness. I wanted the joy that they had. And I just associated that with $1,000,000. So if I got $1,000,000, then I'll be happy. Funny thing, I didn't get the $1,000,000. Not all at once, not yet. But I found the happiness, the joy, the peace. Then I became empowered and started to realize that, wait, To be empowered, to move, and to create the plan to act on these things, I needed to have a clear vision. I needed to know what the hell did I want. Because up until that time, I wanted literally everything. I wanted that. If you gave me $1 million, I would have been broke because I would have tried to buy everything and then realized it's not enough. I had to have an honest assessment of, well, what am I doing? Let's just say I want $1 million. What the hell am I doing to get it? And then I had to have the willingness to adjust. So when I had that clear vision, and then I made an honest assessment and say, you're not doing the things that you need to do to get you there. I had to be willing to adjust. I had to say, well, all right, well, we're going to have to do something different then. I had to be willing to pivot. Willingness. Your willingness will create room for your ability. So the next set of anchors that we have are going to be our universal anchors, right? They're going to come from the different cultures around the world, yet they're going to tie into this message as a whole. And the first comes from Stoicism. This has been a real positive journey for me because it's causing me to learn more and to understand a lot that I maybe didn't understand before, but I thought I did. And so there's a Stoic philosophy called memento mori. And to paraphrase Marcus Aurelius says, stop letting your mental impressions harden into judgments. Act now in alignment with nature and your highest self. Stop letting your mental impressions harden into judgments. That means that judgment is a final state. And normally when we get to the judgment, it's hardened. It's like it's stuck. The person who's judging somebody, they've got it in their mind. They've convicted that this person is. That's what has caused a lot of the problems that we have in society, because people have judgments, harden their impressions into judgments. And so he says, stop letting that happen. In order to do that, you need to act now in alignment with nature and your highest self. If nothing else, if we simply begin to act now in alignment with nature and our highest self, what do we produce? When we think about it, and this is something that a concept that I had to deal with a lot, because as I was getting that clear vision and having an honest assessment, the word procrastination would come up a lot. I'm procrastinating. People like procrastinator. You would hear this word, and then it was like, wait, what is that? Started to become clear. What is procrastination? And when I think about it, because we say, I procrastinated, and then we get down on ourselves. Somebody points at somebody and they say, that's a procrastinator. These things are judgments. So to look at procrastination or misalignment as a form of judgment means, oh, there is something about that we can actually change and affect. And how we can do that is through our aligned action. The aligned action is the one that serves your nature and your higher self, your vision. This is what acknowledges that preciousness of time that is what creates this judgment of procrastination. And so that is the memento mori, that vision and that time. When we begin to align our actions with our vision, and then we're understanding that preciousness of time. This is memento mori. We are taking the momentum and aligning it in the right place, flowing with it in the right place. Because we are judging ourselves as procrastinators because we felt like we wasted the time because we were not aligned. When we are aligned, we don't feel like we're wasting time. So we don't feel that we're a procrastinator, yet you're doing the same thing. You felt you was a procrastinator because you weren't aligned. So you were at a job you didn't like to do and you weren't doing a job, so you got called a procrastinator. When you were aligned in the opportunity that you love to do, there was no procrastination. So you're at this desk, you're working for this business, but your focus is in Canva and you're designing these things. And because you're in Canva designing these things, you ain't doing that business. And they're like, why isn't that thing done? And so now you're like, I'm procrastinating. Oh my God, I'm so distracted. That's misalignment. Because once you actually were fired or you quit that job, Now you have more time to focus on your Canva and developing the things that you like to do. You weren't procrastinating anymore. So the thing that was a form of judgment before, you now realize, oh, I'm in alignment with this thing. This is no different than that relationship. This is why it's important for us to reflect on us, not on them, not on that thing, not outside of ourselves, because that relationship that you dedicated 5 years of your life and gave this person your all, and they did this to you. They said you were all these names and you believed it, but that was misalignment. Because then, I'm not even gonna say you got with somebody else. You left them. They left you, whatever the situation was, you're free. You're now in a different place, in a different space, and you're hearing different things. People are saying different things about you. Maybe in that relationship, they discouraged you, and now you're being encouraged. And you gotta say, wait, the same things that I was doing over there that I was discouraged for, I am now encouraged for over here. That's because you're in alignment. So we judge ourselves as procrastinators because we are not in alignment. If we take the time to clear our vision, to have a clear vision, to be honest with ourselves, and to be willing to adjust, we are going to be in alignment, and we're not going to judge ourselves for procrastinating, for loving the wrong person, for being in the wrong opportunity, because we're going to be aligned. Yet in order to get there, those lessons had to be learned. You had to put yourself in the wrong to understand the right way to go. One thing I was told early on when I first started driving, my cousin, this man drives literally road dog. He'd drive from one end of the country to the other. He had a mental map in his head. He was like, if you want to know how to find your way around a city, get lost. Once you get lost, this is how you're going to find yourself. Are you serious? So anytime I go to a city, I'm just drive around. Why would I get lost on purpose? How can you be lost on accident? This is how we begin to find our way, but are we paying that attention? So taking that time to understand ourselves and to be in alignment, we can not only eliminate the negative things that have been happening, but we eliminate the misunderstanding of those things, which is what created that negativity. So that person did that, but now you see I was misaligned. Instead of continuing to beat yourself up so you aren't willing to adjust, so you keep putting yourself in the same situation, getting the same results. No, we're saying, you know what? I wasn't aligned. That's why I kept going over there, working those type of jobs, dating those type of people, doing these type of things, because I needed to move around. I needed to change what I was doing in order to affect a different outcome. And in Taoism, we talk about Wu Wei in motion. And Lao Tzu tells us that the journey of 1,000 miles begins with 2 feet. No, he didn't say that. Lao Tzu says the journey of 1,000 miles begins with one single step. You ever tried to walk 2 feet at a time? You bunny hop. How long can you sustain a bunny hop? Not that long. How long can you sustain walking left in front of right, one step at a time? Miles. Once you find your pace, you can walk for miles on miles. Maybe we forgot because we all jump in cars nowadays, but there was one time that this is how we got to where we are now. People walked miles. Granny was one of them. And every time I never stopped telling that story because it impacted me so much. He was willing to walk miles? Where? Dang, we ain't even willing to walk up the street. Everybody want to jump in a car and do us. Wow. There is more to this. Maybe let me switch some things up then. Understanding that the quality and direction of our first step determines our entire journey. So when I heard that story, I was like, wait a minute. So I can determine this. If I want this, I just have to decide what is it that I want and then put the action towards it. And she knew there was like, nope, this is what I want. So she put the action towards it. Because what she was not going to take is to be ridiculed, to be demeaned, disrespected. She said, no, I'm not going to do that. So I will walk because I need that over there. So I'm providing. So in order to continue that, her vision, she said, I'm going to walk. So she literally went on a journey of 1,000 miles with one step. But for me, that showed me there was like that single decision, that single step that we make is going to define that journey. Because she could have stayed on that bus, but her journey is defined by resilience. And this is what I pick up from her. It's the resilience was like, and the stubbornness to say, how dare you? I can't do something. Matter of fact, I get off this bus. I ain't even worry about your bus. And I won't ride another bus again. Don't even worry about it. Are we capable of making the tough decisions for ourselves so that we can begin to experience the fulfilled life that we were promised? We talked about Sankalpa before. We actually talked about Kriya and Sankalpa before. Yet we're going to dive back into this yogic philosophy because it says that Kriya is action. And when action is consciously aligned with your resolve or your Sankalpa, it becomes karma yoga. Action as a spiritual practice that liberates rather than binds. Karma yoga. Two terms that I know in this country we misunderstand: karma and yoga. Yet we're told that when our action is aligned with our resolve, that becomes karma yoga. And that is an action as a spiritual practice. So our life becomes a spiritual practice that liberates us rather than binds us. Any action, no matter how small, is a building block. What small actions are we taking? And then what are we building from that? Something is being built. What are we building from the small actions? If you don't like it, you can change it. Our life becomes a spiritual practice that liberates rather than binds. Lastly, this comes from Peter Gallwitzer, who is a cognitive scientist, and this is about implementation and intentions. Peter Gallwitzer says, people who form specific then plans. So if X arises, then I will perform response Y. Those people who develop those specific then plans are significantly more likely to achieve their goals. And the reason why I like that is because it says achieve their goals, not achieve success. When we heard achieve success, that was anything. And we looked at other people and they said, this person's successful. So we wanted to achieve what they achieved because we said success. When you understand that you're achieving your goals, that's going to look different from everybody because we're all going to have different goals. And so in order to increase the likelihood of achieving that, we create then statements. And this is something that I work with my mentees a lot because that helps to program. This is coding language. This is what developers do. When they're coding computers, that you using your Instagram, your Apple iPhones, all of that, the stuff that you're using is coded like this. If this, then that. If they click this button, then that thing will happen. So we started to use that same language in our mentorship, in our guidance, in our consulting. Say, all right, so this is what we're going to do. We have to break this down. We got to take it away from us thinking too much. We're just going to do this. If this happens, then that. When I'm talking with my guys and we developing basketball, I'm like, look, if this happened, then that. Because we don't want you thinking too much. We want you to just free yourself. And then we develop the actions. So we continue to be consistent with our work because that is going to allow us to shut the mind off when it's game time. But if that person ain't consistently developing themselves when it's game time, they ain't shutting this off. Matter of fact, it's going to keep running. And they're going to try to think about everything. And you can see that person. You see the people who look like they're thinking about everything that they do in life. Then you see the people who look like they're just flowing. This is where we are intending to be, in that flow. So we remove that. We remove ourselves from that. And we simplify things. If this happens, then that. This is going to begin to build those conditions that allow you to respond and not react. So if this happens, then that. It's immediate. Fire alarm, fire exit. Not fire alarm. Which door do I go? Nope. Fire alarm, fire exit. Why do you think we drill that out so much? So when you hear that fire alarm, nobody gets up and say, what do I do? fire alarm. Everybody knows where to go. So then in our life, why are we not developing like this? Why do we sit around, something happens, then what should I do? Instead of developing yourself to know what to do when things arise. Do you develop yourself to know what happens when you're frustrated? Do you even know what frustrates you? Do you develop yourself to know what to do in anger? To know what to do in happiness? No. So you end up reacting. Something happens, you get frustrated, you get mad. If you are not in full control of yourself, you might lash out at somebody and physically assault. Then you regret that. Jails are full of people who lacked control, lacked awareness, who were hastily and impulsively reacting to the world around them. But when they're sitting in there and they're sitting down, they'll tell you now. If I could go back to that moment, I recognize it wasn't that big of a deal. I reacted. And reaction is like somebody do this and you do that. What the damn? When I should have responded. A response is calculated. A response is more patient. We do live in a time where a lot of times, you got to take this. You don't ask. You got to take this. The reason why you have to take your life, because if you don't, somebody else will try to. And so when I say take it, this is where we establish the boundaries, and this is where we say what we're going to do and what we're not. That's the development. And we're about to get into this life action, this practice of how we develop the drills. So if there's a fire, we know to go to the exit. Because I see this a lot in business on a day-to-day basis. And this is one thing that I had to, and I continuously have to address with people. I don't operate on your time. I got my own life. You have your own life. And when I work with people, I'm respectful of that. So it's never a, hey, hurry the hell up. No. You tell me I need something done. Can you do this thing? You give me that time, and then that's what starts that. So in that time, I'm gonna check in. Is everything all right? You said that you'd have something to me by this time, but nothing's here. And then I just watch and see how you react to that. And then if it's not how conducive or aligned with what I want, I can just pivot and go another direction. Like this idea that we gotta force people to do something, that I gotta tell you to hurry up and have that on. Why? We've been talking about hastily movement this whole time. So now understand why I gotta force you to have that on my desk at 3 p.m. For what? And what did that do to you? Now you gotta hurry up and move because you gotta have this at 3 p.m. So now what did you do to the next person? Hey, shut up, because I'm trying to focus it. Then what did that? And it creates this chain reaction all the way down the line. Because we're hastily moving, and we've been told the only people that move like that is those who are focused on want. Because the diligent, they prepare for plenteousness. Everybody else moves hastily for want. And this is so that we can identify ourselves. So if you are in a situation where you're noticing, I am somebody who is diligent, who prepares for plenteousness, yet my environment forces me to move hastily because of want, I need to prepare and be willing to pivot out of this. Once I have that clear vision, then I start preparing myself, and then I pivot. So for those who like to jump in the comments and reach out and say, you're telling people to quit their jobs and leave relationships. No, we're not. We're telling people to recognize and be wise and know when to put stuff down. And so if you want to know the notifications or the alerts, this is what you should look for. Know thyself. Are you someone who wants and moves hastily, or are you somebody who maybe you move that way, but you're not comfortable like that? I want to slow down. I prepare. I'm about the long game. Then you shouldn't be in a hasty environment that makes you go like this. And if you're the opposite, if you're stuck in this long game where everything's moving slow and you're a fast-paced person, then you should be in that type of environment. Because what ends up happening is you're trying to change something outside of you. So now you want me to move faster because that's how you operate. I'm not going to move faster. What I'm going to do is remove you. This is what our life is meant for. You are in control. You can put whatever pieces and remove whatever pieces. Whoever said you couldn't get rid of that thing and get something new, they lying to you. Let them tell you, you'll never find another job like this. You will never find another person like me. You're right. I will never find another job like this, and I will never find another person like you. The next job that I find and the next person that I find are going to be aligned with my life. And they will never find another person like you. So let's now act like we know. It's time that we move into the life action. This is the vision check-in ritual. This is the point where this practice is what we start to put in place so that we can develop the skills that we need. We develop the response for when that alarm goes off, not the reaction. We know how to respond now to these emergencies in life or whatever it is, the frustrations, the disappointments, what have you, right? We're developing in our system so that we can continue to be in alignment and not out of alignment, missing our opportunities and blaming others for that when we are in full control. Remember, Marcus Aurelius just told us, stop letting your mental impressions harden into judgments. Act now in alignment. So we about to act now in alignment. This is the life action. This is our life action, which is our practice, the vision check-in ritual. Okay. We're closing. We talked about the life action gap, where there's a gap between our life and the action that we need to get to the vision. Well, this is where we're closing that gap. And we're going to do this by ensuring that our awareness is aligned with compassion. So the first step is going to be called anchoring in our vision. This is our North Star. What is the North Star? When you look up in the sky, it's the thing that tells you you're going north. Follow it. You're just going to keep going. The North Star, the guiding light. So the first step we want to do is begin to soften our gaze or close your eyes and bring to the mind's eye your core vision for your season that you're in right now or this year, however you want to do that. What is your core vision for this season or this year? Don't add the details. Just see if you can see the core vision that you have. And instead of adding the details, add the feeling. So can you see your core vision and can you feel it? So it doesn't need to be like, oh, I see myself in a red car. No, no, no. The core vision and the feeling associated with that. So right now I want creative freedom. And so in my mind's eye, that's what I bring. That's what I see. In this season, we are freely creating. We have the creative freedom to make what we want to make and the feeling that is associated with that. Once I'm able to pair those two together, I feel what creative freedom feels like for me. The joy that I get from just creating something that I want to create. Then I move to the next step, which is to map our landscape. This is the terrain, right? Where are we currently? We're going to map this out. And we're going to do that by taking two pieces of paper, papel. And on one piece of paper, on the first, we're going to draw a circle, circle. We're going to divide that into slices like a pie or a pizza. And each one of those slices are going to represent key areas in your life. So one area is work, one area is health, relationships, creativity, finances, etc. This is your pie. This is your life. You just want to split it, slice it, and put those key areas of your life. Don't Google it. What are key areas of life? Key areas of your life. If your circle only got two slices in it, it only got two slices in it. All right. And as what you want to do with that is in each slice, you are going to color based on how aligned your actions are in that area. So one, green, let's use fully aligned. Like green light is fully aligned. Yellow is somewhat. Red is not at all misaligned. We're going to color in those areas. How aligned am I in my health? in my relationships, in my creativity, my finances, right? And then we want to identify the greatest divergence from that. This is the course correction. Once what we identify here is the course we're going to correct. And so we're going to look at the most red or yellow areas. Ain't no way it's all green. If it's all green, then you need to, we need to be learning from you. We need to figure out how are you doing what you doing, because you ain't got no problems. It's all green. So we're going to take the most red or yellow slice, and we're simply just going to ask, what is one specific recurring action or choice in this area that pulls me away from my vision? What is one specific reoccurring, because these things reoccur, we continue to do them. That's why we're misaligned in one of those areas. What is it that is pulling me away from my vision? And once we identify what it is, this is where we say, this is where I need to course correct. And if you see already, if you just follow the steps, you notice how it doesn't take for us to think. And that's what causes a lot of the problems. We were going to think about it, and then we might, instead of coloring one yellow, we might, I'm color green. Maybe not. We don't want to think about this. We want to respond. So on that second piece of paper, after you've identified where our greatest diversion is, you're going to write what that is. So if it's scrolling, first thing you wake up in the morning, and then what that does to you. If I jumped on when I was waking up and jumping straight to my phone and going on the news, well, I was anxious. Especially woke up in the first 20 minutes I'm waking up or whatever, I grab my phone and you're seeing something in the news that just happened, now you're anxious going the whole day. So we want to write on that second piece of paper what the thing that is our greatest diversion and what it's doing to us. So the example is scrolling news first thing, creates anxiety and is not part of my creative freedom. It doesn't allow me to freely create, because whatever I just saw is now in my mind. It's going to affect whether I even want to create at that point in time. And so then we move to the next step. Number 4, we design aligned micro action, the new path. So this is now where we're headed. It's not on the old path. We start to create a new path, and we're going to begin to go that way. So for that misaligned action that you had, we're just going to create simple. Keep it simple, stupid. KISS, acronym for life. Simple is the way to go. That ain't easy. So we're going to create and design a simple aligned alternative. And we're going to use the then statement to do this. So then you put a box, whatever that trigger from that old action was. If blank, then I will do micro action. So if I pick up the phone in bed, then I'll set it down and speak my affirmations. Or I'll set it down and I'll begin to journal. We're simply saying, if I do the thing that is my greatest diversion, the thing that is pulling me away from the vision, then I will do this to get me back focused on that vision. If this, then that. We can do that in reverse. If I spend all my money, then I will be broke. We don't want to be broke. If I save, then I will. Just simple examples of how we can create these statements. And then we want to embody this, because the reason why we are doing the work that we're doing is so we begin to embody this life. We want to integrate these things so they become a part of us. And we can emulate them. So we're going to stand up. In your current reality right now, you're standing on the ground. So when you stand up, you want to be able to feel your feet standing on the ground. That is representing the current moment, your current reality. I'm standing right here. And because this is a visual exercise, we're just going to then reach one arm up, right? I'm reaching up because that's where maybe you want to reach out or you want to reach down, but you're going to reach towards your vision. In the first step, we saw the vision and we associated that feeling. How did that feel? As we integrate this, we're going to reach for that vision and we're going to feel it. Now, We're going to bring that towards us slowly, drawing that vision in and the feeling into our body, integrating it within ourselves. My vision grounds itself through my aligned action. This is what we begin to say. My vision grounds itself through my aligned action. You are saying and affirming what now happens. This is the new path. We would not have done this before. We would not have said this before. That's how we know we're on a new path. And this is the practice that we can cultivate to get us there. And when we end it, we state that my vision grounds itself through my aligned action, because at that present moment, I am grounded. My feet are on the ground. I reached up to my vision. I saw it. I felt it. I pulled it down, integrating it into my body. And then I stated that my vision grounds itself through my aligned action. Now, guess what I have to do? Act. Don't sit down and write everything and start doing this, and then you don't act, and then you be like, see, this didn't work. I don't get nothing from this. So there's no benefit if you don't do it. There's no benefit if you do it. The person that benefits the most is you, not me. So if you think you getting something, I'm not doing it because hey, teach us all. We're not here for that. All right. We simply want to provide you, guide you, give you the tools and resources so that you can live inspired every day forever. Because we know that that's life. And so as we move to our contrast, before we get into our close, we're contrasting when we are in that hustle mode versus when we are moving aligned with that momentum. Not too hastily. When we hustle, and I know we want to hustle, we hear that all the time. Every day I'm hustle hard. You got to hustle. When we are hustling, we are forcing effort. And this is driven by outside pressure and or comparison. I see what somebody else is doing. I compare it to what I'm doing. Maybe I don't feel like I'm doing what they doing. So now I'm adding pressure to myself, forcing effort, and then I say I'm hustling. This is our mindset. Yet that's scattered motion. You may be busy, but you adrift. So you busy adrift. You on a raft, you just floating out in the water. Keep moving. But that's not the type of movement that we want. And our scattered motion, we're going to notice this because our actions are going to be reactive. Notice, say our actions. We ain't looking at other people and saying, oh, that's a scattered person. Look at they. No, we've done that enough. So we are experts on what everybody else is doing and what they look like. Now we are going to become masters of ourselves and what we look like. So we're going to notice where we are reactive and where that is based on the external demands from outside and this false urgency. Because I need to get this done today. And if I don't get it done today, then what? The world ends? No. Our scattered motion is going to be able to be seen because our energy is going to feel drained. We ain't going to feel like getting up. We don't. It's Monday. We hate it. Oh, I don't want to do this. Our progress feels like it ain't there. It's elusive. No matter what I do, it keeps fleeting. It's running circles. It's like, no matter how hard I work, I'm still broke. And we know we're in scattered motion because the vision remains distant. Someday, one day I'll get there. But back to reality. No, right? That vision can go from distant to present if we move from scattered motion into alignment. This is momentum. Momentum is natural movement that is created by action, especially our aligned action. And aligned action equates to consistency. Because if we have aligned action, we're going to see consistency in some things. And that momentum is going to lead to us moving because the hustle drains, the momentum energizes. So now we're not just drained and feel like we don't want to do anything, depleted. We're moving. We've got the energy to get up, to thrive, to live. And then where we started seeing that we felt like keep moving, there's activity, but nothing's getting done. I don't see where I kept doing this, but still not built. Momentum is going to build. This momentum, we are going to see that we build things because we have a purposeful flow. So our actions are chosen. We choose what we do and we choose wisely. Choosing wisely doesn't mean it takes forever. Let me get that one. Versus, ooh. So we choose wisely because our actions are chosen. Our energy feels renewable. We feel like it can just keep flowing. We feel like the Energizer Bunny keeps going. And those small steps that we said we were taking that leads to greater later, the small wins feel like they're connected to something larger. So we begin to even celebrate those, like the little wins. They lead to the big win, but imagine we only want to celebrate the big thing. We're depriving ourselves of that momentum that is needed. Those celebrations for those little wins add the energy to get you to that big win. How many of us would have kept going in something if we just had encouragement, just even a little bit? But that lack of encouragement felt like discouragement. Then we just dropped it, walked away. Small wins, celebrate them. And then we know that we're aligned in momentum because our vision becomes felt like it's realistic more and more each day. It starts to feel like it's a reality more and more each day because you're building that consistency. And every choice that we make, even the small choices, we said it goes to build towards something. So when we are aligned in momentum, we have a purposeful flow. That means our actions are chosen. We're choosing what to do. And what we're choosing to do is to build towards our vision. So each one of those steps builds towards our vision. So it is no coincidence that that person achieved their goal because they did what they needed to do. And we are capable of that too. We need to get clear with our vision. All right. We need to understand what it is that we want. What is my purpose? And then we have to be willing to change course, to do it different. Because your story is not that which says someday. Your story is today. Today, I take the steps. Today, I become intentional. Today, I am going to build the momentum, which is going to bring my vision to reality. In the words of Earl Nightingale, success is the progressive realization of a worthy goal. So if at first you don't succeed, dust yourself off and try again so that you may realize the accomplishment of your worthy goal. Don't let them rock the boat.